Allow me to reintroduce this man by saying, Superman is back in the building. Let's start the show. What's going on, people? What's really good? It's your boy Marv, and this is the Nerds in the Hood. Folks, y'all already heard it at the start of the show. Superman is back. I just saw that movie, which means you already know what time it is. It's another edition of the Movie Pass Movement. Ladies and gentlemen, I need y'all to understand this is a movement I am making. I don't care how far it takes me. I just want to keep doing this. It's where I give my usual vibes check on the latest movies out right now in terms of streaming or TV. But I usually focus on this when it comes to movie theaters. So there's more movies. Anyway, what I do is, if you don't know by now, I have the AMC A+ stubs, list rewards, all that good stuff, right? So what I do with this now is I go to AMC movie theaters, whether it's by my parents' crib, my crib, anywhere in the United States for the most part. I think there's some states that are excluded, but whatever. And I go in here and I go check out a movie every week, or at least try to. That's free. Courtesy of AMC. I'm really just paying the price of one movie ticket a month. I'm okay with that. And I decided to go see one of the hottest movies in the game right now. That's Superman. Originally it was called Superman Legacy, but they decided to just shorten it to Superman. James Gunn, what more can I say, people? James Gunn has been doing this comic book game thing for years. The Guardians of the Galaxy series, to Peacemaker, to Creature Commandos, and now here with Superman starting his own cinematic universe with DC Comics. DC is no stranger to cinematic universes. We've already seen that. They just haven't been striking gold when it comes to their selections. We know that as well. So that's what makes it really tough, right? The Snyderverse wasn't that great, and here we are now. We're trying to get out of that Snyderverse whole thing. We're just trying to start something new. And folks, it is worth the wait. We've waited, I believe it's been over 10 years since the last Superman solo film. So this is something epic to me. Superman doesn't get the same type of love in theatrical and television based programming like Batman does. Like, you saw me openly say, we have to take a chill pill on Batman. And James Gunn agrees. He said it in interviews that, like, we don't need to focus so much on Batman. So when he does this DCU, he's going to focus a lot more on Superman and Wonder Woman and Peacemaker and so many other just random DC characters, because that's what DC is. DC is just a universe of characters. It ain't just one guy, right? So when I saw this movie, I was expecting it to probably be some cheesy kind of Superman, something more not Clark Kent, Christopher Reeves type vibes from back when he was doing his thing. Definitely wasn't expecting it to be like the Henry Cavill, which was definitely very dark. So it was more in between, but definitely more on a brighter side. James Gunn proved that you don't have to really make dark superhero movies, especially with DC films, even though DC is way darker than Marvel sometimes. But this film, what it does is it starts you already in a world where Superman not only exists, everybody has grown to basically appreciate him and just respect that he's here and he exists. They already start the movie off in a Star Wars kind of vibe where they have like just a little script telling you, just catching you up to speed, just saying, hey, listen, for years, hundreds of years, we've known about metahumans, aka people with powers. We've known about all of these things. Superman is one of those people, and he's here, and yeah. And then they just start you right from where he's at, where he's currently getting cooked. He's getting them hands thrown at him by the Hammer of Baravia, which you later find out who he is. Now, I don't want to go into full depth of spoiling. When I usually do these reviews of movies that just came out, I try to keep my spoilers to a very, very minimum. But I will say spoilers are ahead because I don't know what I might say right now. I don't know. I really don't know what I might say. But I do want to say that this film definitely sets the tone for what the DCU can do. Now, Creature Commando started the whole DCU like timeline and everything. Even though Peacemaker season 1 kind of blends in between the lines, but Peacemaker season 2 is supposed to like build upon what the Superman movie did and just kind of set the tone even further for what the DCU is planning on doing going forward. But Creature Commandos, as dark as it wasn't dark enough compared to what they've done in the past, but it was still good. So this is kind of a good year for comic book films. I am definitely waiting to see what Fantastic Four does, but you know, between Daredevil, the TV show, and Creature Commandos, the TV show, and now we're going into Peacemaker coming next month, and Fantastic Four is coming out in like a week or two. You know, comic book movies as a whole is starting to come out, and comic book programming is starting to pull up a little more too. Don't forget about Penguin and stuff like that. But be that as it may, before I digress too much further, this movie was basically just about a world where Superman already exists and the perils of just dealing with Superman as well as Lex Luthor. In a world where Lex Luthor, in this movie, he was probably the most obsessed with Superman I've ever seen a Lex Luthor be, because we've seen what, like 4 Lex Luthors now, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, we've seen Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey, Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah, right. Yeah, so we've seen different ones, and we've seen ones on TV too. So we've seen different ones, but this might be, I'm not gonna say he was the best Lex Luthor, but he was a good Lex Luthor. Nicholas Hoult. He did his thing as Lex Luthor. He made it work. He played a Lex Luthor that was crazy, but crazy smart. Like, he knew a lot of stuff, but he also was so obsessed with beating Superman that he was willing to do whatever he had to do to basically beat Superman, create new villains, get more forces. My man had a army of monkeys that could literally type a lot of things and put it on social media. And that is another one of the aspects of the movie that made me actually like the movie more, because it also was like art imitating life. Because when people do something wrong, it immediately goes on social media, and whatever people say on social media, sometimes people just make stuff up, and we immediately go, oh, he is the worst, she is the worst, they should be canceled, and there we go. So a lot of times people say, like, you know, we say the whole thing with like bots and AI. It was kind of similar with that, when you had all these like brain powered monkeys that were super smart, and they were typing like, yo, F him, he this, he that. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool thing, because that's how we say about bots. Bots might just be monkeys on the low, just on the keyboard, just, you know what I mean? So I thought it was those moments there that was pretty cool. I loved some of the scenes, and again, it gave you the vibes of like just DC. For example, there was a scene I always remember laughing at, because you've seen it in the poster when they first started teasing Superman and everything like that. And it was Superman sitting in his crib, you know, sitting in his house. And he was like, it was either he was putting on a boot or taking off his boot. And in the background, there was a monster. And he wasn't doing nothing about it. And I remember laughing about it like, yo, so my man's just like done, I guess. But then when you look at the movie, it's still pretty much the same thing. He goes home. He doesn't take off the boot, but he goes home, and Lois Lane pulls up, and they have like a little conversation. And in the background, he is not fighting this monster. However, the other heroes in the movie are. And the other heroes was Green Lantern, who this time was Guy Gardner, not Jon Stewart or anybody else. Hawk Girl, who was actually not the main Hawk Girl you see in the Justice League. I think she was like the niece of that Hawk Girl. And Mr. Terrific, who stole the show. Definitely stole the show. Like, Guy Gardner being played by Nathan Fillion was dope, but we knew it was going to be dope, right? But my man, Mr. Terrific, let me not butcher this man's name, because I want to put some flowers and put some respect on this man's name. Let me get his name, because when I saw this, yo, my man's was putting in work, and his name was, as I'm looking this up, They always put the brothers in the back. Always put the brothers in the back. Now you gotta sit here and search for some brothers. Let me get his name. But anyway, Mr. Terrific was the scene stealer. He was the smartest dude. He was really good with the gadgets. He had his own fight scene, which also helped. And he was just all around just dope badass, man. His jacket was fire. My man was speaking. He was speaking like an old 70s black man. He was like, yeah, when they throw that on the fire, it gets really good. And I was like, all right, Unc, I see you. I see you, Unc. Why do they not have his name in the listing here? All right, well, you know what? I'll find it out. I'll put it up somewhere here. But we got to put some respect on that man's name. Because if you remember, this man was in X-Men First Class, right? And he played Darwin, who was a mutant who technically could not get taken out for good by any mutant, right? Like he had the power to adapt and basically adapt to any type of element that was facing him, right? So, here we go. His name is Edi Gathegi. I know I probably butchered his name, but I just want to say, give that man his flowers, man. I've seen him in so many different projects. He was in Twilight. He was in X-Men First Class, like I just said. He was in, was he in the Blacklist? Maybe. But he was in a lot of different stuff. But anyway, to see this man go from a Marvel movie to a better DC film and kill it and steal the show, fire. All around good casting. Wendell Pierce also made the jump from the MCU to the DCU. We had Jimmy Olsen, the dude that played Jimmy Olsen. I remember seeing people being hyped because they were like, "Yo, it's a Jimmy Olsen with freckles." We don't get that a lot, which is true. So he was good. He was actually also funny too, because in this one they was going comic accurate. So before anybody sees this movie and go, "Yo, Jimmy Olsen don't get chicks like that," oh no, read the comics, y'all. Jimmy Olsen got hoes. My man Jimmy Olsen be out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? He be out here making the moves. So definitely shout out to him, man. Jimmy Olsen be out here putting in work. Rachel Brosnahan played a good Lois Lane, which was always good because that has to complement Superman. So we got to make sure we get a good hero for that too. But at the end of the day, the movie delivered. It was solid action. It was funny comedy. It was a nice balance. We got Krypto the Superdog. We got different heroes that I honestly don't really think we've seen in movies like that. Like, how often do you see a DC movie that has Metamorpho in it? Right? We already had a couple Hulk girls, but Metamorpho, Element Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, Mr. Terrific, we didn't get those people. So it's like, to get that in this movie was definitely like a game changer to me. It was to show how unique the DC universe really is. And also, we got a Superman movie where Superman didn't have to do as much as he needed to do. It was other people besides Superman that made this movie good. And for the first time in a long time, since probably, I don't know, Peacemaker of season 1, or maybe even Creature Commandos. Well, no, Peacemaker, yeah. We got something that didn't have Batman in it that still delivered. That's saying a lot. And you can tell that he's moving on from the DCU because when you look at stuff like, for example, we had a whole nother Maxwell Lord, a more respected Maxwell Lord. We didn't have Pedro Pascal running up and down the place saying all your wishes can come true. We had a guy, even though it was a quick cameo by James Gunn's brother, we still had a guy that was just rich and his businesses was all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, it's the attention to detail that he paid that really worked. Because when you see Batman versus Superman, it was a bunch of Batman Superman stories combined into one movie, and it didn't work. This time, he just combined. He didn't even combine. He just took elements from different Superman stories and made his own story. And that worked. He was inspired by like Superman Legacy and Man of Tomorrow and stuff like that. And he's going to do the same with other projects. And that works. So for me, that delivers, because when you go to the movies to see this, yes, it's going to be loosely based on the comics, but it's still going to make some sense. And this movie made some sense. Like I said, the action sequences were good. They were a lot better. And it's James Gunn. You know he's going to have an action sequence where there's music in the background and he's beating the crap out of everybody, like the main character or whoever. In this case, it wasn't a main character, but it was a character. So to see those things, to see those fight scenes, and now to see that some of those events and some of these characters are going to find themselves in Peacemaker Season 2. And then after Peacemaker Season 2, who knows what we're going to see next, because the next project is Supergirl. So who knows what we're going to see in that. And yes, Supergirl is involved. I cannot say how. At this point, it has been almost a week. We're coming close to a week of Superman being out. So do be prepared for worse spoilers than whatever I'm saying. But what I am saying is, when it comes to this movie, the vibes check is that it is a valid film and you should go see it. It's definitely worth the wait, because I've been waiting for a good Superman movie. Man of Steel was good. I'm willing to die on that hill. But a lot of people didn't like it. And honestly, I feel a lot of people feel the same way about this film. I'm not going to sit here and spend my review talking about all of the outside noise that was going on with this film, with like Fox News being mad about him being an immigrant, which is like, okay, this is a fictional character. I don't know why I spent 10 minutes on a fictional character. It's like, this is why I don't watch Fox News. Don't care. But at the end of the day, it was like, some of that was involved in the movie, so I thought it was part like a promotion, you know what I mean? But when I saw the movie, they touched on some of that too. And that's why I didn't want to spoil some of that, because there are some big name cameos that are in this film. But at the end of the day, it was like, they touched on some of that in the film. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, your man's is, he's not from here. And it was just like, okay, who cares? He saved my life a couple times. You saw people was cheering for him. that one dude that was like, yo, he bought a falafel from me. It was just like, so? And how he bought that falafel from you? Where he get the money from? Superman ain't even got no money in his pockets. He wears like trunks and tights. So when did he pull out money? You sure he bought that from you? Because he does have super speed. Maybe there was a moment where he just kind of like just took it. Anyway, that's a bit of a reach. Let me stop. I'm sorry. I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. But again, they're all introducing you. This movie was more of a launching pad to introduce you to a lot more characters that you'll see connecting in other worlds. Like, there was a villain called the Engineer. She's going to be in the Authority. There was Mr. Terrific is going to be in other projects around. Green Lantern is going to be in the Lanterns TV show, but he's also going to be in Peacemaker. Hawkgirl is going to be in Peacemaker. So we're going to see different characters. And this was, to me, the good chapter 1. This was the best chapter 1. Dare I say it? This might be the Iron Man 1 for the DCU. We all remember when Iron Man 1 came out and we didn't know how to feel, but we was like, this movie was actually good. And then the MCU was born. And even though the next movie after that was The Incredible Hulk, we kind of pushed it under the rug. But we were okay, because then we got like Thor and Captain America and everything else, and all these movies was good. Black Panther 1, and here we are now with Fantastic Four. So the DC, the reason I'm saying this movie is a vibe is because the DC just kept shooting. They kept shooting. They just kept shooting. I got to give them props. They kept shooting, they kept shooting, they kept shooting. And here we are. Here we are where now we finally got somewhere where we moving, we cooking with fire, and the movies are starting to hit. Because that's why I said Man of Steel was fire, but then the next movie after Man of Steel was Batman versus Superman, and it was just like, oh boy. And then Wonder Woman kind of brought us back, but then nothing got better after that, right? So, you know, they can still do it, right? And Peacemaker is still Peacemaker, Blue Beetle still Blue Beetle, and Shazam is, I believe, is still Shazam. So we got to see who he's going to pick for other things down the line. My only fear is that just how much time is going to pass before these people are too old to play the characters they're playing, and then we have to get somebody else. That's my biggest fear, is that, you know, how long do we have to wait for a Superman 2? How long do we have to wait for a Batman movie? Like, what are we going to do with those things? Are we just going to use Robert Pattinson's Batman and say he's now Batman? Like, what is going to be the game plan? So that's what I'm more intrigued about. Like, we could sit here and talk about, you know, I'm not going to sit here and go over scenes with you, favorite scenes. You know, there was stuff that was funny. I ain't even going to hold you. But there was certain things that didn't make me laugh. But it gave this vibe that I was watching the old Superman cartoon. that used to come on in the 90s on Kids WB and sometimes Cartoon Network. And it was this show where it was like, at times they were a little cheesy, but other times they were more serious and things got crazy and they fought and it was all cool stuff like that. So that's what made me like it a lot more. It did pay homage to the Supermen before him, but this man, David Corenswit, who actually, fun fact, if you saw the movie Pearl, this is how he got casted to be in Superman. He's also a massive Star Wars fan. But at the end of the day, this man played a really good Superman. He just played a Superman who was still trying to figure things out. Even after 3 years of being Superman on Earth, he was just trying to figure things out. And it was things he was learning and he was new to it. But he still wanted to prove to these people that, like, yo, I'm a human just like the rest of y'all. I've been living around in New York. I've been doing that. Well, Metropolis, excuse me. I've been doing what I could do. And, yo, y'all got to cut me some slack, B. I'm going to make mistakes sometimes, man. Which was also funny because they finally used this movie to canonize that Superman was using glasses that hypnotize people into believing there is a difference between Clark Kent and Superman, with only Lois Lane realizing that there is not a difference until the end when my man Percy Weiss said, how long Superman and Lois Lane been hooking up? And it was like, oh, probably like 3 months. I was like, yo, that was kind of funny because I was like, everybody just stood there like, man, listen. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about how much I'm feeling this movie, but you gotta go see it for yourself, man. Write in the comments, talk about what you feel and what you think is going to happen with Peacemaker or what's going to happen with the DCU down the line. Let's have a discussion, yo. This movie to me was valid. I suggest y'all go see it. Enjoy it, love it, because I did. And I'm going to catch y'all next time on another edition of Nerds in the Hood. Follow me on social media. Check out what I got going on in my contents using the link tree below. And I'll see y'all next time for another edition of that Movie Pass Movement, y'all. Peace.